from my childhood, from my experience, from my life, um, and face those things that would have helped me ultimately um, learn to be a better person, be a happier person. So, lived my life the entire time like everyone else. Um, didn't recognize the blessings that were around me and the things that I had not only experienced, but the things that were given to me in terms of spiritual gifts. And what I mean by that is, having the ability to hear things that no one else can hear, and see things that no one else can see, feel things that no one else could feel, and know things that no one else can know. And so, my gifts, although I had them throughout my life, I also struggled with depression and with alcoholism. So, my energy was always at a lower vibration. And in order to actualize my gifts and actually use them for what they were meant to be for, which is to help humanity, help people understand themselves, help people know themselves, help people become their best selves, um, I had to go through a series of, life-changing events that would push me past the fear that had always crippled me from ever discovering myself. Um, in order to become who I am today. And because I chose to get through things as fearlessly as I could, um, it seemed like the universe, like God, my higher self, responded in kind. And so over the last 4 years, the culmination of all of these different events, angel numbers being one of those things where um, constantly numbers are being shown to me in repetitive cycles, repetitive instances. And whenever you see a series of numbers over and over and over again, you have to recognize that it is a sign from angels, from God, from universal intelligence trying to get in touch with you to give you guidance right on your path or to help answer questions that you may have. And people don't normally recognize or even, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, People don't normally do anything with that information, right? If you see the number, say, for example, 1111 over and over again, um, a person like me is going to research what it means and how it applies to my current life situation. And I'm going to receive the guidance I need from that number, and I'm going to retain the guidance that I'm receiving, the wisdom I'm receiving, and I'm actually going to apply it in real life because I want to be better. And I know that the better I get, um, the more I become my truest self, my real self. So over the last 4 years experiencing things like that, right? Whether it was numbers or whether it was hawks, whether it was signs and synchronicities, all of my spiritual gifts becoming and increasing over time, and then realizing, well, the reason why I have these gifts is to be able to help people. So last year, beginning to put out messages that were spiritual in nature to help people find themselves. And all this wisdom is coming through me because now I understand how meditation is such an important aspect to your growth spiritually, to knowing yourself. You have to be in tune with yourself. So the more I meditated, the more I focused on having a spiritual practice like Reiki and working with crystals, because Reiki and crystals go hand in hand, and um, trying to understand how to raise my own energetic vibration so I could become more and more of my higher self. The messages are going out, people are responding to these messages, and I'm knowing, okay, it doesn't end here, I have to keep going. So then where do I go from there? I actually want to start teaching people what I know and do that in a format, in a forum where people are engaged and where I can put my creative gifts and skills. Um, um, I can showcase them in the best way possible, which is putting together a PowerPoint and having a Zoom teaching. So um, that being the next step in the process. And then realizing, okay, where can I go here? Well, if I'm talking about leadership, there are so many people in this world who not only are destined for leadership, but have the highest potential to be great leaders. And so finding myself connected to certain people and actually requesting that they fill out what I call a vision form. And so I do what I call a vision reading, which is actually taking someone who has high potential for great leadership and giving them a guideline or a template and assistance in all realms um, so that they can become and actualize, manifest their highest self. And so using my spiritual gifts and helping in this way, and then realizing, well, the vision readings, although they're good, there has to be an extension of this now. Now I have to get my message out in a different way. Um, and then that culminates in the website. And so now I have a platform where I can actually have my message centralized and then have all of my contact information there. And when thinking of how can I give my gift to the world for free, no profit involved, but just giving what God and my higher self and what the universe have allowed me in terms of gifts to everyone, how can I do that? Well, I can create on my forum, my platform, an actual speaker's platform. And I've seen examples of this on the internet where people are pushing how they have workshops and seminars and Zoom meetings. And you get a chance and an opportunity if you are a writer or you want to be a motivational speaker. You have this platform where you can come speak. What they don't tell you is that, for a fee, they can help you in this process. For a fee, they can make you better. And what I'm saying is that there should be no fee involved if you are truly living your purpose, because everybody's purpose is interconnected with giving back to humanity and being of service in humanity in some way, shape, or form, right? That's what purpose is. So, knowing this, another way that I could give back to humanity and help others facilitate actualizing their own dreams and visions is to create a page where I showcase someone for a month. And that person is able to express their greatness and show their greatness, and others can view their greatness, and in turn it gives them an opportunity to spread their message even more than they actually could maybe on their own platform alone. So that's what the speaker's platform debut is all about. It's about showcasing a great speaker beginning the month of March and his contribution to the world. And I want to say thank you so much for coming. So, or watching. Makes me very happy. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing I want to start with is the thankfulness prayer. And I like to do this with everyone that I work with, and especially as a tradition when it comes to the monthly Zoom teaching. So we must always be humble and grateful and thankful for everything we have. We have to remember that at any moment, all of it can be taken away. And most people live their life thinking of me and thinking of now. We're not thinking of we and thinking of the future, right? Or we're thinking of me and we're thinking of the past. So being humble and grateful and thankful for everything you have in this present moment, knowing that at any given moment it can all be taken away. We must always recognize the divine in everyone. Everyone has the potential for greatness. Everyone has a potential for divinity. Unfortunately, people are inundated with life and experience and genetics and people and circumstances and trauma and unresolved issues. And because of this, we don't see that everyone has the potential to be a good person. We don't recognize that everyone has the potential to be godly in that way, because all we see is who they're showing us. But remember, most of the time we are who we are choosing to be and not who we truly are. Everyone has the potential to be great, and everyone is divine, so recognizing that is important. seeing the blessing in all things. Again, being humble, grateful, and thankful for everything that you have, and knowing that you can always not have anything. You can always have a different experience, a much harder experience. And I know that anyone who's watching this presentation has a lot to be thankful for, has so much to be thankful for. True gratefulness will elevate your life. So when thinking in terms of spirituality and knowing yourself, becoming your highest self, right? True enlightenment and clarity, we know that gratitude, humble, grateful, thankful, gratitude is the key to unlocking your higher self. Gratefulness is the key, and gratitude is the key to unlocking abundance. So, true gratefulness will elevate your life. So, here we are, Nisa DeBro Speakers Platform. And so, the Speakers Platform is a way for people to share their message, their purpose, their passion in a form that allows others to see your greatness, read your greatness, and experience your greatness. We should encourage, support, and help propel others, especially if our purpose is ultimately to help humanity rise. Live your life in service to others. I am honored to be a part of your journey. Okay, so submitting info. You want to go to nisadebrovision.com. You're going to go to the speakers platform page. You're going to complete the form. And once you do that, I will respond and I will ask you for certain things. For example, your mission statement or your purpose statement, your contact information, videos, and a photo of yourself. And I will showcase your gifts on the website and my social media platforms. It allows for people to share their gifts and talents, and I help by fulfilling my purpose. And so if my purpose is to help people rise and do it in a way that I'm skilled at or I'm gifted at, right? And push other people, help other people because I have the platform to do so, then even though you're helping me, or I'm helping you, you're helping me as well. So it's a win-win situation, I think, in that way. And the duration of the showcase is 1 month. Submissions must be purpose-driven. The aim and focus is to assist humanity by utilizing our natural gifts and talents. So, yeah, I really believe that for a person who is on a spiritual path, recognizing that there's always things that you can do as an individual that doesn't require anyone else, especially if you are trying to combine your purpose and your passion together. Like, for example, I never thought I would ever create messages and put my commentary to messages and it resonate with so many people. I never imagined myself doing that, but I did it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't take me anything but time to do that. But it's so fulfilling to be able to share my wisdom and have people listen and want to comment. People want to share their own opinions. People want to have dialogue about what it is I'm saying. So in that way, there is no money that is necessary when it comes to sharing your message, really. And so in that way, giving your gift without money being the barrier between you and spreading your gift or you spreading your message is an important thing. Even if you don't do that full time because you have to make a living. A lot of people monetize their gifts. And so in that way, if you need to survive, yes, I understand that. But on some level, you know that you have to be giving your gift for free. On some level, you do have to do that pro bono work. That's important because that truly is giving, right? So, without further ado, I am going to talk about the first speaker who I am so thankful and grateful for, who volunteered There was no one who had submitted. My website's only been up and running for a couple months, so no one has submitted for the speakers platform yet. And of course, I need an example of someone to be a speaker and someone who has come so far and evolved beyond, I think, even his dreams, in terms of who he was and who he has become, which is more and more of his higher self, just like myself in that way. So, this is a person who one day will revolutionize the fitness industry and how people connect their minds and their muscles. He really will, um, yeah, totally surprise the world when it comes to that. And he's someone who is, to me, like a sleeping giant. No one knows his greatness yet, but one day the world will. So, um, without further ado, one more time, I'm going to give it over to Mr. Marlon Wade, Performance Enhancement Specialist and the first honored speaker of Nisa DeBro Vision Speakers Platform. And he is going to give his um, words of wisdom when it comes to his connection to myself and his own philosophy about self. In the speakers platform, I want you to identify what you're taking from your relationship with me and why the speakers platform is going to help you ascend.
Yes, the speakers platform gives me an opportunity to share my message, my passion with the people who are here listening. And that's what makes me so grateful for being a part of your presentation. You're giving me that opportunity to share that with more people than I would by myself. So, and you also giving me that confidence in myself to believe in my passion, my dream, and go after it by going through all of these steps of learning myself, respecting myself, loving myself, and then going into the process of what it takes to do that every day. Giving myself that time for myself to tell myself I love myself, to meditate, to think about all the positive things that I've done in life instead of just thinking about all the negative things, right? All of those things together makes me who I am today. And knowing that I'm better than yesterday because I've actually taken the time to go back to school, learn more as much as I can about the body, and then also learn about myself during that process, right? And then also learn about others and how I allowed others to feed off my energy, right? And how I fed off my own energy, how my ego allowed me to have relationships that were actually not truth, not in its realest form. And so being able to understand that now and really be aware of myself and who I was makes me even better uh, today because I can take all of those experiences and understand I would never be some of those uh, persons, some of those people, some of those versions of myself now. But I know who I am today, so I know who I want to try to be tomorrow and even better and learn even more and give that knowledge to other people at the same time while I'm learning from them and what they know. And then we all share that with someone else because the more I learn from you, the more I can teach, uh, my children, the next generation, right? And then the more I can learn from them, the more I can teach myself how to teach the next generation, right? And then they can teach their generation and the next generation after that. And so all you're doing is trying to create that path of love and knowledge sharing and respect for what we are. And we are amazing energy. Uh, the human species is something that can't even be fathomed in our brain of what our body does. And what I'm trying to do is share that knowledge to everyone. So maybe I wait fit.com is where I have that platform to do that. You are giving me the opportunity to share that to everyone else. So I love you for that.
I love you. In the speakers platform, I want
100% made by wayfit.com. And basically, I'm here to share with everyone joint stretching, the basic movement that we all need to master in order to uh, have better performance in walking, running, whatever it is we do on a daily basis when we use our limbs, right? Our joints are attached to them, so we gotta have functional joints in order to have that mobility and range of motion. Um, the basic things I teach is breathing stretching, wrist stretching, ankle stretching, balance stretching, all on Zoom training. Um, we're going to implement a monthly, a Sunday session every Sunday with this free session so that you can come at least once a week to get that stretching in and take that into your everyday life and see the benefits from it. If you are consistent with it and um, determined to make a change in your life, if you have any type of imbalances, which we all do, and it's all because of repetitive things like work, our hobbies, whether we watch a lot of TV, we don't move as much, or we're on our phone a lot, looking down, creating issues with our neck, our posture, all of it um, is relevant. What we eat is the biggest part, and we're going to get into that pretty soon. So I'll leave that for the later conversation. But basically, that's all I'm here to express is these stretches and how these stretches can be turned into workouts and how you can better your body, change your system and help that immune system be stronger. And yeah, so with that, I leave it to uh, myself to continue this conversation with you guys live. So thank you again, madebywayfit.com, for any questions or if you want to refer to videos that I have on there. Yeah, learn and apply and teach um, and lead our next generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Marlon, thank you. So all I would like to add, to it is, my formula of what I believe it takes to create this, in all of us is form at all times, balance before everything, and control your mind muscle connection. So doing this every day, you're going to create this growth, with the angles, the purpose behind what you're doing, and you will have that change. And just being, the awareness of and health, and which elevates your highest being. And I think there's three things that lead to strength in all areas, and it's not just physical. First is the three B's: breathing, balance, and belief. And if you have those three things, then you are definitely creating a great foundation of self. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lanisa and say thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this amazing platform and project that you have going on. And I'm so proud to be the first one. You've helped me so much and given me so much confidence to actually go after my dreams. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It is my honor, believe me. And um, words can never express how thankful I am. You have taught me so much. It's not only um, someone you train, but also with someone you work out with. You've taught me so much about my physical self, and I would never have risen to the elevations that I have during the course of my physical career, I like to call that, without your help and your guidance, because I learned a lot of form and movement from you. And I never would have thought as deeply, or even known that I could have thought as deeply, or been as creative, or been as talented as you are when it comes to teaching people what we know and expressing that physical gift. So thank you so much. All right, so for this month's teaching, we're talking about we are what we eat. And we have to understand that everything that we take in, everything from our mental stimuli to what we listen to, auditory stimuli, to the people around us, even, all of those things contribute to our energy level or lack thereof. So you have to imagine that people, human beings, contain life force energy, meaning what animates a human being is something that is unseen, this unseen energy that resides in every single person. Now, when we don't have enough energy, or when the centers of power within our body, right, called chakras, when those centers of power are unaligned or they're blocked and energy can't flow freely through us, then all of these things, these negative things, can manifest in our reality in a physical sense, in the mental sense, in emotional sense, and in the spiritual sense. So when you hear people talk about vibrational levels or energy levels, that's exactly what they're talking about. And you have to know that at the beginning of every single day, this is the metaphor that I like to use. At the beginning of every day, a human being is at full bars, right? So if you think in terms of a battery, a human being is at full bars. And as we go throughout our day, energy is being depleted from us. So what used to be 4 bars now will go down to 3 bars, 2 bars, 1 bar. And what happens with your phone when it gets down to 1 bar, right? You got to charge it. So in the beginning of our day, we're full energy, right? And throughout our day, our energy gets depleted, and then we start over again the next day. So things throughout our day can either give us more energy to get through our day, become effective, complete goals and tasks, to think right, to feel right, right, to be right. Or you have all these things that can take away from our energy levels, right? They can deplete us energetically. And so you have to think in terms of a battery that is constantly depleted, right? And it may be re-energized, but then depleted over and over again. Eventually, the battery dies, right? Completely, permanently. And so that's what happens to our minds over time. That's what happens to our bodies over time. And that's definitely what happens to our spirit. So we have to recognize the fact that we've been groomed to consume so many things that are not healthy for us on a mental level, on a physical level, and on a spiritual level. And you have to think about the fact that we've been groomed to consume programs that affect our mental well-being, our physical well-being, our spiritual well-being. And when we first recorded this presentation, I did not record it, and I was so disappointed because, when you're talking spontaneously and you're just going off of spirit in that way, when you're communicating and you don't have to read anything, nothing has to be scripted, right? The content of the original PowerPoint presentation that me and Marlon are now redoing was so, uh, yeah, it was so powerful. So I'm trying to remember certain aspects of that spontaneous conversation or teaching, the original one. Um, and one point that I did make that I know that was a great one had to do with power, and how we have all been led to believe that there are people who are more powerful than us, that there are people who are more superior than us. And this is in so many examples, right? We think about the relationships between parents and children. And we've been taught that as children, we are subservient to our parents. Now, listen, I'm a mother. I understand the dynamic when it comes to having control and power over children, right? As a parent, because you made them, because you brought them into the world, most parents think that that means ownership of someone. And in the most surface level expression, I can see how that's true. Of course, it's your role to guide, to protect, to nurture, and love. But this is under the premise that everyone is looking at parenthood this way. Most people are selfish, and then they have children, and then they're still selfish. So parenthood does not denote in any way maturity at all. And so the point being is this: we're groomed to believe that because you are a parent, you have ownership over your children. And that means I can treat and I can talk to and I can be my lowest self. And it's okay because you're my child. Therefore, I own you. Therefore, you don't have a response. You shouldn't have a response because you should respect me, even if I don't respect myself. This is what we've been groomed to not only consume, but to believe. And I'm here to say that that's not necessarily the case at all. I think children are the most purest form of humanity. Children are the closest to godliness. And in that way, adults should not only respect children, right? Parent or no parent, adults should be great teachers and mentors to these beautiful, pure, innocent beings, right? And so you look at how the world is and you see how so many adults are not good mentors and not good leaders to the next generation, to children. And yet they expect respect from that generation. So, yes, the same thing applies to work. We are groomed to consume the belief that if we have a boss, we must be inferior to this boss. That our boss can treat us any way he or she wants to. They can talk to us any way they want to. That because they have that position of power, that illusionary position of power, and they have that title, we have to succumb to this. We have to be oppressed by this. We don't want our boss to be mad at us. You know what I mean? And that's a crazy concept to think about. We've been groomed to believe that certain people hold certain positions of power, when the reality is that no one should have power over anyone. Yes, no one should have power over anyone. And if you empower yourself in the truth, if you know this, then you understand that really what this world needs is more of servant leadership. And I heard that when I was researching a number, and I thought that is such a great description of what it is I'm trying to bring to the world, which is servant leadership. You have to live your life in service of humanity and at the same time lead humanity. So, yeah, we've been groomed to consume this belief that certain people have power over us. Certain institutions have power over us. Power is an illusion. It's not even real. And it's only real if you believe it. If you yourself as an individual believe you have power over someone, that's the only thing that makes it real. And it only makes it real to you, though. It doesn't really make it real unless you make someone else believe that it's real. And it's only real to them because you've made them believe it's real. So you understand the illusion of power. We are what we think, and what we think we become. You have to know this. What you think about, you become. If you're fearful of everything, if you're fearful, but let's put it this way: there are a lot of people who are fearful but pretend to be strong. There are a lot of people who are not good, who have ill intent, right? But pretend to be good. You have to understand, at the end of the day, you are what you think. and what you think you will become, which means that it doesn't matter if you are a person who appears to be strong, but you are fearful, because at the end of the day, you live your life in fear. No matter how strong you project, no matter the strength that you want to show people, the fear is always going to come out. So if you want a good life, if you want to rise to your potential, if you want to create the world around you that is conducive to raising good people, create the world around you that is conducive to creating good people, right? You have to think about the right things, which means you have to be very careful of what you're putting in your mind, right? What we do defines us. Everyone should know this. What you do defines you. It's not about your words. And at the end of the day, it's really not about your thoughts. It's about your action. What you do defines you, not your words. And this is very, very important. People have to understand that it's not enough to say you're good. It's not enough to say you're good, right? It's not enough to even know that you're good. You have to demonstrate that you're good by acting good. So beyond the thought, right? Beyond the thought is what matters. Because you can say to everyone in the world, I love you. You can say to your parents, to your family, to your friends, to your partner, to whomever, how much you love them. How much you love them. And you may have 1 million friends and 2 million followers, and you love every single one of them. But none of that outward love matters if you don't love yourself. None of it matters. So you can be good and you can be kind to the world. But if you're not good and kind to yourself and you always hurt yourself, at the end of the day, that outward kindness, that external kindness that the world gets makes no difference. Right? It's what you do that defines you. And last but not least, you have to know that who we are is who we choose to be. Who we are is who we choose to be. And who we choose to be is not necessarily who we are. Yeah, who we are is who we choose to be, but who we choose to be is not necessarily who we are. And I'll put it in this example here. So when we think about our ego self, we think about our life. Everyone is a culmination of all of these things, right? Their genetics, who they come from, their environment, what they're around, their experience, their trauma, especially people, right? People, influencers. All of those things make up who a person is. So at the beginning of a person's life, if we start off, like I said, like a child, we're pure, we're innocent. We're completely our higher self in that way, right? Throughout life and experience and people and trauma and all of these negative experiences in life, these situations, all of those things imprint, right? And so they keep us in a state of lower self or ego if we don't choose to rise above all of those things that keep us stagnant in our life, sedentary in our life. There's a lot of people who have dreams, a lot of people who have visions, a lot of people who have wishes. I wish this and I dream this. And that's what we do though, right? Throughout the course of our life, we always fantasize. We're always fantasizing and daydreaming about what if? What if I could have that? What if I was that? We do that throughout the course of our life, but we never put forth the action to manifest that. We never put forth the action to manifest that which we are thinking about in that way. So a lot of people dream, but what are they doing to create that? Now, if someone lives their life in fear as their ego self, as their lower self, meaning they never take action on their thoughts. You know, I wish I could do this, but you know what? Maybe not today. Maybe I'm going to do that tomorrow. You have a person who never takes action upon their thoughts, right? They're never going to be able to move beyond where they're at. So in terms of spirituality, That's what happens over the course of someone's natural life. They stay their ego. They never learn the lessons they're meant to learn to be able to continue on their path to spiritual enlightenment. Everyone has a path. Everyone has a path. And if people aren't progressing, people aren't having clarity, people aren't thinking about their actions and how they could be better, people aren't changing and evolving in that way. It's their own doing. You have to understand that. If you're unhappy in your life, it's because of the choices you've made, and it's because you choose, right? You actively are choosing not to come to terms with yourself. If you want to change your life, if you want to evolve, if you want to create the abundance, right, that you've been seeking, everyone is seeking abundance, but no one knows how to get there. You get there through your higher self. If people aren't doing that, they're going to stay their lower self. And so, in essence, they are who they are choosing to be by making the choices they're making to keep them at a certain level in their life, the journey of their life, to keep them there. It doesn't matter how much money someone has. It doesn't matter how well someone's body is. It doesn't even matter the wisdom that someone carries. If you are not balanced in all of those areas, right? Meaning you actually use the wisdom that you've been given, that you've acquired through the course of your life and through experience and from your higher self. You actually show people how to utilize their bodies so that they're more mobile and flexible, and they live a higher, better quality of life because they're not in pain, right? If you're not using your mental fortitude and you're actually teaching people, right? Teaching yourself how to be better. If you're not doing any of those things, you can never evolve from who you are choosing to be to who you really are, right? The opposite will always be true. You will be who you're choosing to be. So we're going to talk about mentally how we are what we eat. And so if you imagine, like I said earlier, this battery, right? 4 bars at the beginning of the day when you get up in the morning. Everything that you're consuming mentally imprints on you, and it can either add to your energetic vibration or it can take away. And the reason why your energetic vibration or your energy level is so important is because the higher you are vibrationally, right, the closer you are to your higher self. The more you are in your higher self, or the more you are becoming your higher self, the better you feel mentally, physically, spiritually. The way you communicate to the world, right, is different, right? You're giving, you're wanting to help the world versus take from the world. You communicate with yourself better, meaning telling yourself, I love you, affirming to yourself all the great things about yourself, why you're going to succeed, why you're going to fulfill your goals, why you're going to do all the things that you want to do in life. All of those things are very, very important. So anything that you're taking in on a mental level, especially with visual stimuli, right, is going to affect your energy level, and it's going to drain your overall battery, or it can actually replenish your battery. So ways that we can have that mental part of us, that mental energy taken away, are going to be through social media, of course, television, visual learning, even music, depending on the music, right? You got to think about this. If all day long you're consuming videos on social media, for example, that exploit, right? Exploit anything, exploit money, exploit sexuality, exploit women, exploit men. If that's what you're watching for the majority of your day on your Instagram or on your YouTube, etc., how do you think that's going to shape the way that you view all of those things? How you view money, how you view women, how you view men, all of the things that we see and we're given by the world to look at and to view, right? At our disposal, this overabundance of mental stimuli is meant to shape and program our perception. It's meant to control our base instinct, our natural instinct to think for ourselves. When you're force fed so much stuff in overabundance and a lot of the wrong stuff, it does shape your view of the world. And then in turn, it shapes your view of yourself. Because if you're a person who is not even aware that there is such thing as a spiritual awakening yet, if you're a person who's not even aware that you're on a journey yet, there's no way that you could understand that what you're taking in on that level really does create not only your reality, but it creates the well-being or lack thereof of your mind. So it's important, like with music, if you're listening to music, a certain type of music all the time, it's going to shape the way you feel about the world and about yourself. Right? If you're listening to music about love, you're going to feel good and you're going to feel love. If you're listening to music about hate, it's only going to make you hate. If you're going to listen to people talk about how they're upset because someone did this to them or someone did that to them, then it's going to make you feel a certain way because, that's happened to me. And I feel that. Everything that we take in shapes how we view everything. So it's very important to know that controlling and censoring our mental input is so monumental. It's such a huge thing when it comes to our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. The mental aspect of our life controls everything else in that way, right? Everything else. Even if we're talking about the spiritual controlling it all, if our mind is not open enough to receive the spiritual, or our mind is not open enough to receive our higher self, then ultimately we will continue to be our lower self. So we're trying to transcend that way of being where we're so susceptible to the programs within our society, from the music we listen to what's on social media, to our interactions with people, to relationships even. You have to think about that. The relationships and the people around you really do shape who you are. More so, I think, more influential than anything on the external outside of that. Because those relationships, those close-knit relationships, do have an impact on how you ultimately feel about yourself. So if you have relationships that are negative, they're going to make you feel negative. And if you have relationships that are uplifting, they're going to make you feel uplifted. So knowing that even your relationships, the conversations you have with people, the conversations you don't have with people, the context of your conversations, whether those conversations are even in truth. That's a very important thing. Even if those conversations are in truth, right? Because what we're talking about is all mental consumption. So if you're engaged in conversations with people for hours that are surface level conversations or conversations based on complaints, complaining about the world and what's happening with them, you know what I mean? Versus solution based conversations, solution focused conversations. That definitely has a bearing on you as a human being, especially in how you think, especially if you accept that, especially if you accept it and you don't have anything to teach, right? So if you're just absorbing someone talking negative and that's all you're doing is absorbing negative things, and you don't counter with teaching the person about why they shouldn't think negative or here's a solution versus focusing on the problem. If you're not counteracting with something that's going to create change and inspire solution, right? Then really all you're doing is you're inputting all of this information for nothing, because you're not even in your truth. Because if you were in your truth, you would tell that person exactly what they need to hear to snap out of it, right? And at least awaken momentarily. So the conversations we have with people are so important, and you have to understand that you can't entertain everything. Just like what you're consuming on social media, or like in an effort to research. There are people out there who love to research, right? And researching is great, but you have to have your own opinions too. You have to have your own perspectives too. You can't take someone else's philosophies or someone else's preachings or someone else's beliefs, and that now becomes your belief. And you have to understand the program within that, okay? The huge program within that aspect is taking someone else's beliefs and now it is your belief. But you don't know what your belief is because you're believing someone else's belief. You've been programmed to believe someone else's belief. So when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to religion, and I think this is another aspect that I expanded on in the original PowerPoint, and so I will again. When it comes to religion and spirituality, I'm going to explain the difference between the two and why people often get them confused, right? So with religion, religion is external. Religion is praying to something outside of us and believing it collectively with other individuals, asking for guidance, believing that something outside of us is going to give us the answers. What religion also does is that religion makes it so that certain people are deemed, right, the conduits of this holiness, right, or this godliness, or this belief. And that in order to access, right, the highest power, you must go through certain individuals to have that privilege. Another thing with religion as well is that religion is oftentimes monetized. It's not even oftentimes, I would say all the time. It's monetized, meaning you have to donate to this, you have to donate that, you have to give, you have to constantly be giving, but not just giving in your heart, not just giving in your soul, giving in your pockets. You have to give of your money. And if you give more money, then you are more connected to the higher power. If you give to me, right, because I'm the conduit, I'm the messenger, I'm the go-between you and the higher power, then you will be more connected to God or to higher power. Spirituality is very different. Spirituality is all about knowing yourself, finding your truest self, finding who you are, because people don't realize that we are not here just to exist. We're not here just to exist. We're not here just to work. We're not here just to go to school. We're not here just to have a family and get married. We're not here to just, be entertained. Everyone is here on this planet for a purpose. And unfortunately, it's a very hard thing to do when everyone is plagued with the programming that they've experienced, right? Since their birth, the programming of the world. So spirituality teaches us that the answers, right, have everything to do with who we are, which are spiritual beings having this human physical experience. And I've heard that many times in many different ways, and I really connect with that. Everyone has potential. Everyone can be great. Everyone has talent. But how many people will recognize that when they're so busy, consumed with what other people have, what other people are doing, what other people like? So in spirituality, knowing yourself is the goal, loving yourself is the goal, finding yourself is the goal. And when you do this, when you gravitate toward your higher self, when you find your higher self through practices like meditation, right, listening to your own inner wisdom, making the best decisions, right, being giving, being loving, truly accepting, when you get to that point where you are your higher self in that way and you open yourself up to it, you can actually hear the guidance. You can hear yourself talk to yourself, to you. You can hear yourself. So the difference between religion and spirituality is the fact that religion says you must worship outside, that what you're looking for, the answers you're looking for are outside of you, right? Spirituality teaches that the answers that you need are inside of you. And for me, my higher self is God. God is the universe. The universe is the highest power, and we are part of it all. God is in every one of us, right? where religion teaches us that God is outside of us. So even with programs like religion, those are things that, if we allow it, will keep us in a certain state of mind, because it's controlling our ability, our desire to expand our thoughts and expand our consciousness. It keeps us right in this box. And the same program that we have when it comes to work, the same program when it comes to how men and women are viewed in society. Women should be a certain way. You know, it's okay to exploit women, right? And then men should be okay. Men should be this way, right? It's okay to be the exploiter. That's the mentality of the majority, right? That's the mentality, that we fit into these boxes as people, when in reality there is no box. That's just someone's a manifestation of control and power, that we have these boxes that we have to stay in and we have to conform. And the reality is that there is no conforming needed, because you are the highest power. You have the highest power. You are the creator of your life, and you co-create your reality by your thoughts every single day with your higher power, the universe, God. You're co-creating what you see. So it's very important about being conscious. It's very important to be conscious when it comes to what you are inputting into your mind, with what you look at, what you listen to, who you talk to, the conversations you have, and the programs that are all around you. So remember, you have to replenish your energy. You start at the 4 bars. By the time you're at the end of the day, you're at 1 bar. You got to give yourself back what you're giving to the world. You have to. Otherwise, you have those blockages. You have that unalignment. You have mental and emotional issues in that way, right? Or problems, right? Coping. Why do you think people get depressed, or people get so angry? People get so sad? It's because they have no idea that their body is just completely unbalanced because of what they're choosing to put into their mind. You are what you see, right? You are what you believe. And if you're inputting all of the wrong things, it will drain you. It will take away from your energy, right? It will stagnate you. And you will have these manifestations of things that are negative in your reality because of it. So it's very important to know that you should censor your mental intake. You need to take a break from the data input, right? You can't spend all day on social media, even if it's purpose driven. Think about that. Even if it's purpose driven, even if it's something that you really like if you're into boxing, for example, spending all day watching boxing videos, what are you doing to better yourself? What time are you spending when it comes to self-betterment and improvement? What time are you spending actually teaching what you love to others, right? What time are you spending living your purpose in that way? What focused energy are you giving to becoming better? It's very important. Being alone with your thoughts equals peace. It really does. Everyone needs to spend time alone in their own minds. And people spend time around people. People spend time distracting themselves with people and with things and with whatever else, right? They cope and they deal because they don't want to be alone with their thoughts. People need people because they're afraid to be alone. And unfortunately, in order to uh, become a better person, in order to create the life that you want, in order to live your purpose and passion, there has to be a lot of self-belief that has to come with that, right? Or there has to be a lot of belief in self in order to create that. But then most important, you have to be comfortable with being alone with your own thoughts. You have to think about uh, the reasons why you are the way you are. You have to think about the reasons why you are hurt, why you hurt people, You have to think about the reasons why you aren't happy or what you would consider happy. That all requires that you deal with your own mind. And so that's a huge part of spiritual awakening and ascension in that way. You have to be comfortable being alone with yourself because that's where the most growth comes. You have to develop your own views of yourself and the world and your life. It's great when it comes to researching, right? When you're taking in all this information. But when it comes to replenishing your energy, you have to tap into your own wisdom, your own inner self, your own mind. So uh, when we're replenishing energy, right, it's great to be a researcher in that way, but also solitude and connecting with yourself. You will develop your own views of yourself and the world and your life. That's what I think contributes to um, giving back to yourself with that mental energy is when you're actually thinking about these things versus taking someone else's beliefs and then making them your own. Again, because that's going away from your truest self, which is the most magnificent being, right? Spiritually, physically, and mentally. You're taking away from that when you absorb someone else's way of being instead of creating, acknowledging your own, even acknowledging your own way of being. You only want to take in things of value. You have to know that in order to change your existence, in order to change your life, in order to change your reality, you have to change your mind and your way of being in that way. So you can only take in things of value. If things that you are doing are hurting you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you can no longer entertain those things if they're preventing you from growing and evolving into the person you were meant to be, the being you were meant to be. Think about that. You have to take in things of value, and that includes people. If you have people who don't make you feel good, right? People who hurt you, you have to give them the opportunity to hear your truth. You have to be able to say to someone, hey, what you're doing hurts me. It doesn't make me feel good. You have to give a person the opportunity to change. Because believe it or not, a lot of awakening doesn't happen because people fear what would happen if they spoke the truth. You prevent your own awakening and the awakening of other people when you choose not to live in truth, right? And live in fear, meaning fear prevents you from saying what you really want to say because you're scared of the outcome. Well, we can't live that way, otherwise, we'll never change. We'll stay the same, right? So it's very important that if someone is hurting you, you be honest. Doesn't matter who the person is, and it doesn't matter what it is. You know, if someone's just being mean or someone, the way they talk to you makes you feel a certain way, you have to be honest. Now, you give a person an opportunity to make the right choice, to be a better version, to be their higher self, right? And acknowledge that they've hurt you and make moves to better themselves so they won't in the future. Now, if that person chooses to, you have to understand that you are then creating a real loving connection with someone where you could be honest, the person accepts your honesty and reciprocates with empathy, understands that what they're doing could be better, right? And so they make the moves to do it. If you have a person who doesn't care about the fact that you're being hurt and constantly ignores that. Now, if that person's a family member, I realize, right, that you can't just shun a family member. A lot of people are not strong enough to do that. They're not strong enough to, right? They would rather live in this false existence, this illusion of a family, rather than be alone. Because again, people are afraid to be alone because I can't think about myself. I can't talk to myself about myself, right? Because my world would shatter. And so that's why people create uh, all of these illusions. That's why people wear masks, why people are never who they say they are. Their actions never align with their words. You understand? Because they're not real in that way. So you have to be honest. If people in your life who are not, um, aware of the damage they're creating, you're honest with these people. You give them the opportunity to change and become better. Because believe me, more people than not would awaken to that and say, I should really think about how I treat people. I know I do. I know I do. And that's because people have told me, what you're doing is hurting me. So I only changed because people are making me aware of myself until I become my higher self enough to become aware of myself before anyone else does. Do you know what I mean? So, real loving connections is what we want. And if we keep people in our lives who are of value, who support and encourage us in truth, understand that. People of value support and encourage in truth. Just because you have someone who is loyal to you doesn't mean that they're in truth. You think about that. Just because someone's loyal doesn't mean they're in truth. And if a person can't be in truth with you, it's not a real loving connection. They can't be in truth. You want relationships that are honest. And the last thing, how do we replenish our mental energy? Being creative. I find that I am so creative when it comes to communicating and articulating and expressing how I feel on so many levels, right? With so many people in that way. And I am this way because my creativity is at the forefront. And that's because I'm becoming more and more of my higher self in that way. So becoming a better person in all areas um, leads to your higher self, right? And it has to be in all areas. You can't be an exceptional athlete and be unempathic to the world. You have to have empathy, right? And you can't just be empathic, but never know yourself. Never tell yourself, I love you. You can't do that either. So you have to actually grow in every area of your life to become your higher self. And in this, not only will you replenish your mental energy every day, but then you'll also become more creative. So we are what we eat spiritually. Understand that we consume so much when it comes to spirituality on a daily basis. And spirituality, again, is self. It's awareness of self. It's consciousness of self. It's understanding purpose, right? We are so influenced by everything that's out there. And no matter what social media platform, you're going to see so much of people talking about spirituality. And so understanding that the content, what you're absorbing when it comes to what other people think their beliefs are, is very important. You can agree with certain things that people say, but ultimately, spirituality is about self. Ultimately, spirituality is about self. So although you may be influenced by other people's beliefs, even mine, for example, right? You have to have your own philosophy and your own thoughts and your own understanding of what spirituality is, right? And that can be a combination of so many different things, but you have to ultimately have your own views of spirituality. Um, Remember, we consume spiritually from other people. So we are constantly exchanging energy all day long, all day long. Our energy is going out into the ether all day long. So, for example, if you are in a negative mind space, everyone that you interact with is going to feel that on some level. You have people who are more sensitive or empathic to others who could feel that, you know what I mean? And it's so strong. Or you have people who are completely unaware because they're so focused on self anyway. So your mental well-being, your state of mind doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? But people can impact you spiritually. So if you're feeling good and then you encounter someone who's feeling bad, all of a sudden, because you're empathic or you're sensitive to other people's energy and what they're putting out, that could bring your energy level way down. Right. So now, instead of being optimistic about the world and about the future, you start doubting yourself and having fears based on the energy that someone else is exposing you to. So you have to be careful. And that's when people of value, right? Real loving connections come into play because you could be doing everything right. And if you have the wrong people in your circle, the wrong people around you, that will definitely influence the way you feel about yourself and your circumstance. If you have negative people around you, or people who respond negatively, or people who aren't even aware that they're even negative to begin with, you have people who are in their own world, right? all of that does spread to you. All of that will leach out onto you, and it will ultimately affect your thoughts of self, right? And it can lead to just, how would I even say that? Like an inspiration of fear. So if you're around someone who's saying, no, I don't think you should do that. No, no, I don't agree. No, or you always have someone who's telling you how what you think is not the right thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just had a flashback. Yeah. If you have someone who's constantly telling you how what you're doing is wrong, right? Um, you will eventually, if you're not strong enough, and if you are not on that path to becoming your higher self, being more fortified in yourself, believing in yourself, loving yourself, if you're not strong enough, you would allow that person to dissuade you from your goals and dreams eventually. So the people you keep do have a huge bearing on how you view yourself. It's very important. You have to have the right people. And if you don't have the right people, you have to be strong enough, right? You have to be strong enough to either tell people the truth about themselves and still keep them in your world, but just now they know exactly who you are when it comes to them, right? Or you have to have those people make their way out of your life altogether. It's really that dire when it comes to your spirituality, right? If you don't have people who are conducive to your growth, then you have to grow separate from them. Trauma contributes, unresolved issues, negative energy, or negative view of self. So all of these things can contribute on a daily basis, right? On a life basis to how we feel about ourselves spiritually. And so our spiritual energy in that way can get depleted over time, right? And so if over time we think less and less of ourselves, we think more and more of the outside world, we rely more and more on people, we're going to stay as that version of ourselves forever and lead a life, right, that is not conducive to fulfilling potential. Everyone has potential for greatness in their own way, in their own right, right? So understanding spiritual consumption is important to how you think about yourself. You replenish this energy by meditating, by praying, telling yourself you love yourself, telling yourself you love yourself. Tell yourself you love yourself every day. Affirmation, gratitude, living in purpose, and giving. So, what does living in purpose mean? Living in purpose means this. What is the one thing that you love to do that if you weren't paid to do it, you would do it anyway? That's a great way to think about it. I am living my purpose. I don't uh, get paid for anything I do. I don't have any monetary compensation for any of the work I'm doing on a humanitarian level, right? Because I truly am living my purpose. And I will leave it up to the universe, to God, my higher self, to reward me for all of the good things that I'm doing. But I'm not working for the reward. Does that make sense? I'm not working for the reward, right? I'm working because it really puts a smile on my face that I get to spend my Monday afternoon talking about all of the things that I feel are important when it comes to transitioning from just existing in a world and not changing a world, right, to actually being a catalyst for not only my change, but the change of so many people, and change in the right direction, change for the right purpose, right? So, yes. That is my conclusion. I will now give it over to Mr. Marlon Wade, who's going to talk about how we are what we eat when it comes to physical consumption.
Hello. Now, I want everyone to understand something. The food that is, sold to us is hard to find any type of nutritional value um, out of it, or in it. Fast food, there is no nutritional value. It's made up of water. That's why, we can eat fast food all the time and still maintain living, because you're getting that water. Everything that is made, every food product has water in it. So, um, you know, they know how to kill you slowly and not kill you all at once. So you keep buying these things. We have to do our work and due diligence in growing your own food, your own vegetables. You can grow, and that way you know what's being put into those things and what's being put into your body at the end of the day. Um, I myself have chosen not to eat so much meat like I used to in the past because it has an effect on your whole system. Our system is made down to break down fruit and vegetables, nuts and berries, and those type of things that we can digest easily. Meat is not one of our main sources to maintain life. So we've, the system, the government, the ones that control all this and get the reward, making the money, the profit from it by selling it to us, has made us believe that's the way we are supposed to eat. So, with that said, understand that when you are stressed out from work and you're eating all of this food that has no nutritional value, your brain is stressed. And when your brain is stressed, it's going to take a break. It's going to shut down, and your immune system is the first thing. All right. So, giving yourself, taking your vitamins, and I know all of these things. You have to do the work to find out which ones are the best for you and your body and what you need. So nowadays, everything has an effect, a side effect. So you have to be diligent in finding the most purest form of where it is your body needs to consume. So I take my vitamins every day, or try to. I drink my water every day, and I try to as much as I can. You can never drink enough water, man. So as as much as we sweat, as much as we uh, lose water throughout our day, we have to consume it. So yeah, that's my presentation about understanding that we need to have the right food going in our body for our system to work the right way. All right, it's that simple. You're eating better. You're eating the right things for you. And it's not going to be the same for everyone. It's going to make you your best, be your physical, um, your highest physical self and mental self and spiritual self. All right. So let's work all three aspects. Let's work our mind. Let's work our physical body, and let's work our spirituality. And by doing the simplest thing and dedicating that time to yourself every day to do those three things, you will get better. Trust me. And thank you again for giving me this ability to be on your slide, Lanisa. I appreciate you. Hello. Now, I want everyone to understand something. The food that is
This is the one that happened before,
sold to
baby.
us
There
is
you go.
hard to find any type of nutritional value um, out of it,
It's in the bottom right hand corner.
or in it. Fast food, there is no nutritional value. It's made up of water. That's why.
It's not, baby. Hold on. Yeah, it's not in the bottom right. On my part of it, yeah. As soon as I do that, yeah.
You're getting that water.
Sorry, everyone.
It's made. Every food product has water in it. So, um, you know,
Okay, so it stopped. It stopped. Okay, so to conclude the presentation, thank you so much. I am humble, grateful, and thankful for you even staying for the duration and listening to all that we had to say. We both appreciate it so much. Helping humanity rise by leading people to their higher self. Nisa de Provision, thank you for your support and dedication to self. You can reach